Hey, it's the normal playing guy, and wow, have you seen this? Only just came out today. So we have a new virtual clash LR. Anilaza, the Universe 3 amalgamation of all the units. Very, very, very jazzy, right? Looks remarkably like the thing from Heroes. Yeah, that random unit. So short, yeah. Bit of an odd one. Universe 3 enters the game. Nah, don't expect that category to come out anytime soon. But hey, a pretty interesting, unique LR nonetheless. So Battlefield. Now, no doubt that the amount that you probably need now is probably going to be 500,000 a copy. Trust me, it's going to be something ridiculous, right? Because each one gets more and more. Is it going to be the best one? Don't know. Probably better than the Ginyu. It might be better than the Freezer and the Mecha Freezer and King Cold. Then you've got Metal Cooler. I mean, there's actually quite a number of Battlefield LRs on there, isn't there? It's quite shocking how old it has become now and what the rewards are. It's almost like a tournament LR, isn't it? So we'll have a look. Super bosses go to 30%. Okay, fine. So we have an entrance animation, which gives us 3 key 130% and sees the super attacks for 3 turns when there is a final trump or super boss ally on the team. I'd imagine you'd be using super bosses most likely, but still, you enter the game with 3 key 130% stats, but having the additional 3 key 130% and Scouter, the 6 key is really, really nice because you're guaranteed to super attack, and then of course, yeah, the scout is going to be really busted. I mean, the super bosses is absolutely bonkers. It is essentially the Black Saga, right? So again, sticking him on there, yeah, an interesting choice. Right, an additional 3 key reduced damage by 30% when HP is 30% or more. Well, that's fairly good. So yeah, that means you could use him on your second and third rotation if he's in slot 4 to 6 or 7. So that means you can still use him quite a lot. He still has that damage reduction for a huge chunk of his health, of your health. Key spheres to STR, so that's nice. He's an STR orb changer. You can't go wrong with that. An additional attack 50% to super with 3 or more STR specifically key orbs. Okay, which is fine because again you're going to be an orb changer, so hand in hand. An additional super attack with 5, and remember this will stack, so you'll have the guaranteed, and then you'll also have another 50%, which is really nice. An additional 130% to stats and a further damage reduction of 30% as the first attacker in a turn. Nice, okay. So yeah, you can have 60% to stats and this. That could be good. An additional 30% to stats on super attack. You have a 50% chance to do another one. And in slot 2 or 3, you apply the super excellent effect. Right. So, okay. Right, so all this is in slot 2 or 3. Interesting. Your super attack effect. Greatly raised defense. 18 key, greatly raised attack and defense. Extreme allies defense. 30% for the turn. Pretty good. That alone makes him a substantial support because he is essentially. So what essentially you'll have 6 key, then you'll have 3, so that's automatically 12 key. So you'll automatically super, right? Then you will have so you'll automatically super with 12 key, for which you get the defense part of it done. You get 5. He's an orb changer to STR, so you're getting 5. So you're going to have a super attack. If you'll then have another guaranteed super attack, so that's 2, then you'll have potentially your third one with the 3 orbs. So again, that's fine. So then you got 3. And if you're in slot 2 or 3, you'll have another potential chance of a super attack. So that's 4. then your hidden potential system could come in, and that's 5. Potentially, there's 5 super attacks, but you're guaranteed 1. Theoretically, you'll probably get. I mean, if you use them in slot 2 or 3 and you have this, you're guaranteed 1 additional super. Chances are you'll probably get 3 to 4 supers out of him. 3 to 4 super attacks, and they are at the very least greatly raising defense, whilst he potentially has 30% damage reduction. If you remove one of these, I mean, it's actually in slot 2 or 3, you get that, so you get more stats, way more. Then potentially in slot 1, you might lose a super attack. You're still doing like 4 super attacks, only this time you've got 60% damage reduction. Pretty gnarly. After he's good, I mean, if it had any amount of attack on this, he will be ridiculously broken. I got to imagine they probably scaled that down. At 55%, his attack is okay. That's not too shabby for a free-to-play LR. His HP is fine. The defensive value, not as quite as interesting as you'd want. I'd imagine, yeah, okay. If this was his 55%, he'd be spot on. I'd imagine once a few rotations have come and gone of this Virtual Awakening and the Virtual Battle, then you can get a couple of the copies of this guy. He will look pretty good. By the time it comes to around 90%, 11,000, he's going to be looking good because he's going to have damage reduction kicking in. So 55% might be a bit awkward. You are going to get 60% damage reduction, and that's really going to help. It all depends if he gets it on attack. I don't think he does. I think this will apply just by being in slot 1. And you'll be able to tell straight away because he gets 130% to stats straight away. But if you put him in slot 2 or 3, he's going to lose it. If he doesn't gain it, then you know it's on attack, and this guy will then not be looking that great. But I think it's just another way of saying slot 1. So how is he built out? Well, he seems pretty good. Seems like on a super bosses you could just throw him on, and having the scouter and the 18 key support, he is going to be good. So let's have a look at what he is going to be capable of coming up against with. Okay, right, well, I see some good things on this. So bizarrely, you're not artificial life form. Okay, they're kind of on the lines of robotics, weren't they, or some sort of creatures. Surprised they're not on artificial life form. Regardless, coming up on super bosses with these two on STR, that's a pretty nasty one. Super bosses. Is Kefla on super bosses? She is. So if you're looking for another run of a team potentially in Battlefield, funny enough, STR super bosses could be a good one. This guy is not, no. So you've got Selmax, I presume hit, and he's an STR support as well. And he's the extreme STR support, so he could work with the likes of these two. Yeah, Kefla will count. I don't think you are. No, you're not. Who would be super bosses? Might also be Topo. It is. So you legitimately could make a tier 1, tier 2 support of STR super bosses for the level 1 and 2. So that could be pretty nice. Otherwise, we'll look at what we're talking about. It's super bosses all over. Zamasu, and in which case it will also include, it's probably the Fuse Fighter, which is why we're seeing Kefla into here. It will be Tough as Nails, is the reason why we're seeing like this bizarre Saiyan Saga coming in, which is pretty weird. So outside of that, you will link up fairly well because you're going to have big bad bosses. You are going to have legendary power, which will really help out. In fact, big bad bosses, given that huge amount of damage and defensive value, is going to be massive. Imagine all of this that you read here is 130, is 130, is 130, and then he gets an extra 25. That is pretty potent, so he will fit in quite nicely. You could use him in slot 2 or 3, realistically, and then again you could just have him just be able to just spam out attacks and be really powerful. And you could build up that defensive value, but again, you could stick him in slot 1. 60% damage reduction. He's probably going to tank most things. 200% lead, right, from the physical black, I believe. Maybe? He's definitely got a 170 in him. But again, stuff like this guy to help him out. You could have a very tanky rotation between these two. It's going to be pretty bonkers. Active skill. Active skill. Tournament participant's enemy from the 3rd turn, or just in general from the 5th turn. Maximum key 30% for the turn. So you're guaranteed to get this. Odd how it's 24 key, because you don't get anything from this, right? You don't get anything from having 24 keys. That's something. I guess basically what it's doing is no matter what, you're guaranteed that super attack. 24 key, right? So no matter what, you're going to be able to use it. That's fine, because that's the maximum you could ever get anyway. So yes. If realistically, I think what they probably should have done is not necessarily 24 key, but change the entire board to STR. That way you would at least be able to guarantee, or at least have the chance to guarantee, you'll get this. Is that too broken? Maybe, because the heal you get off it as well would be insane. But then again, coming in at 9th, I mean, it's only at Rainbow would you see any particular value off those orbs. So again, yeah. How would you build this guy? You could scream at me for additionals, but it's not going to be the case. Theoretically, the guy's going to super 4 to 5 times, and even if you don't win all those 50-50s, you're probably going to come away with 2 to 3 at the very least, right? So I don't, and each one is getting this. So are you really going to say that the difference to adding in more additionals with a chance to have a super attack? Because honestly, you're only aiming for one more. And if the difference for make or break in this unit is one more super attack, it's probably not going to be that great overall. Personally, you could say crits, because he has no other offensive value that builds up outside of his 18 key. He does, I mean, he gets the extra attack here on slot 1. So granted, there is extra attack, but most of this is based around super attack, which gives him defense. So a little bit of crit, and personally I wouldn't say dodge, because he is capable of tanking, but just that doesn't mean anything. I mean, he doesn't have guard, doesn't have any dodge built in, so you could actually legitimately say give him a little bit of dodge. I personally would go crit to maximise his damage, because he has the defensive value, and then just a little bit of dodge. So crits, small dodge, that'll be the way to go. It's a really solid free to play, probably one of the better free to play LRs, easy A or not, super easy A or not. It's really, really good. So yeah, looking forward to it. So hey, everyone's going to be saving up for a long time, but yeah, sure, knock yourself out, right? It's free to play. So yeah, it's great. This Anilaza is out. Interesting, sure. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for watching. I've been the normal playing guy. You've been a brilliant audience. Let me know what you think of this guy. Anyway, peace out.